Farmers harmed by President Donald Trump's funding freezes are now suing the federal government for illegally withholding Department of Agriculture grants funded by President Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, which, yes, is a law. But thanks to President Donald Trump's executive orders, the USDA has frozen a broad swath of grants as it conducts what they call an agency wide spending review. Here's what they're doing: they're just going through and looking for the words, conservation, okay, clean energy, woke, probably, anything that has to do transition, okay, because they think it involves like transgender or something, even though there's plenty of documentation about transition from one thing to another, whether it be fossil fuels to, I don't know, cleaner energy, which of course that's a double whammy for them. Oh, don't ooh, that says transition and clean energy. Get rid of it. Get rid of it all. Okay, kick it out. Kick it. We can't have it. Okay, you know what? We can't have it.
Can't let that happen.
We got to get rid of all of that stuff because we're insane. That's what they're saying. We're crazy. Okay, and this stuff really, really hurts our feelings and also hurts our donors. Okay, so that's what's really important. But anyway, so they're doing this agency-wide spending review, right? And of course, a lot of this stuff, the money that would go to these farmers is tied up in these different programs funded by the IRA. Now, the 5 farmers that were involved in this particular lawsuit were awarded grants from a USDA Rural Energy for America program, which would help them install solar panels. The 3 nonprofits involved in this lawsuit were awarded forest service grants. Okay. The complaint says that these farmers, because of the IRA, entered into contracts with solar companies to install these panels and, as since, incurred costs that they are concerned they will not recover if the grants are not unfrozen. So if they don't get the money, they're like, we do not want to eat the cost of these solar panels. We were promised we were going to be reimbursed, so that's why we did this. And now you're saying we're not going to be reimbursed? No, that's BS. Now, these nonprofit groups, however, they say that they've had to furlough staff or lay off or cut programs as a result of these funding freezes. So that's what's going on here, okay? Now, Hannah Viscara, senior attorney at Earth Justice, which is representing these plaintiffs, said in a statement, quote, "This is not government efficiency. It is thoughtless waste that inflicts unwarranted financial pain on small farmers and organizations trying to improve their communities." So now at stake, of course, is the $18 billion in funding for USDA conservation programs, okay? So now that funding, it's about $18 billion, and it benefits primarily farmers in Republican-leaning states. Now, that doesn't mean that all these farmers are Republican, even though there is a lot of them that are, and they voted for this. And so it's kind of like a FAFO situation here. But at the same time, these are good programs. This is money that was promised. They deserve that money. I mean, yes, sure. They voted for Donald Trump, the guy who would take away that money, who promised to do all this stuff. I know. But still, I'm in for, improving communities. Okay. And yes, solar will help communities and also create jobs. I know. I guess I'm kind of a sucker in that way, that I actually still believe that people who voted against their own best interests should still get money, that they were promised. Because I believe in keeping promises, I guess. If that makes me an idiot, then I guess I'm an idiot. But anyway, of that $18 billion, only about 5.5 has been released, according to a recent analysis by the University of Illinois. They found that 6 states, Arkansas, California, Minnesota, Missouri, Mississippi, and Texas, stand to lose more than $400 million each if the money does not end up being allocated. So again, this is an effect of Donald Trump's war on clean energy. okay, these projects. This man not only hates solar, obviously, because he doesn't understand it, but really, he's got it out for windmills. Weirdly enough, Donald Trump despises windmills. He says, "Oh, what an eyesore! These windmills everywhere. I can't see the water. You can still see the water. Yeah, but the ugly windmill. I don't like it." Look, this is not about guaranteeing American energy dominance, and I love how it's always framed like that. You know what I'm saying? Oh, we're gonna dominate energy, yeah. By doing what? By buying more cheap Saudi oil. That's not dominance, okay? If you really want energy dominance in America, and to not have us have to buy oil from the world market, then it would make sense to make our own energy here, not from, again, dirty fossil fuels, which actually go onto the world market. It gets drilled here, pumped out here, and then sold on the world market anyway. No, what you would want to do is have more solar and wind projects. Wind's actually cheaper than coal, wind power is. Okay. And solar, right now, the only reason China is eating our lunch when it comes to solar is because we didn't invest here and they did. And so that's the reality. And that's because of Republicans that wanted to continue to prop up these failing sources of energy, coal, natural gas isn't failing, to be fair, because there was a pretty big natural gas boom, but still propping up these dirty fossil fuels. Okay, that's what he's continuing to do. But anyway, Trump again hates windmills simply because they blocked his view of the ocean at one of his golf courses. So he's Don Quixote. Okay, he's tilting at windmills. in this case, literally. Look, that aside, obviously these grants, are not the only issue that is facing American farmers as a result of Trump. There's also immigration. There's also tariffs. Okay. On that, back in February, Senator Adam Schiff had met with the California Citrus Mutual, the trade group that represents the growers who provide about 90% of the country's lemons, grapefruits, and oranges. Okay, the oranges of the investigation. Okay, how's those lemons? No, I know. How about them apples, right? I can't even get my my thing straight anymore. The association expressed concern about the impact of Trump's then hypothetical tariffs could have on the Central Valley, and the group's president and CEO, Casey Creamer, had warned that immigration raids had threatened the food supply. After major raids in early January by Customs and Border Protection in Kern County, one citrus operation reported that 25% of its workers did not show up. Well, that's kind of a problem, isn't it? Not only did 25% of them not show up one day, the next day, 75% didn't show up. So we just got stuff rotten in the fields. Okay, that's a disaster. Now, here's what Alex Padilla, another senator from California, said. Quote, farmers in California and across the country are being hit with a trifecta of damaging Republican policies. Chaotic tariffs, haphazard mass deportations, and massive cuts to federal programs they rely on. These reckless actions are leaving farmers in a dangerous limbo, unable to plan for the future and without the workforce that fuels their industry. Representative Jimmy Gomez also talked to the Bulwark and said people tend to forget that we're the breadbasket of the U.S. These tariffs, when it comes to the trade war he is starting to wage, first it was a trade war against everybody, which is still having a ripple effect even if turned off, but it's still on with China. And China is going to retaliate, and that's going to cause more hardship for the agricultural industry. So on one end, you have that trade war, but you also need people to pick the crop and to make sure things get to market. So that's what's happening. Okay, disaster. Now, here's the thing, though. here's what's funny about some of this. Trump already walked back most of the tariffs, right? 90-day freeze. Gee, I wonder if in now less than 90 days, when this comes back, if he's just going to delay them again. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, okay? But funny enough, Trump is apparently now considering giving undocumented immigrants amnesty. What? This proposal, reported by multiple news outlets, was discussed during a cabinet meeting, and it suggested that some individuals could first voluntarily deport themselves and then return with legal work status if employers could verify their value and contributions. Yeah. Amnesty with extra steps, okay? He added that those who have already left in an, quote, amicable way could be given a pathway to re-enter the country legally. We're going to work with them right from the beginning on, trying to get them back in legally. And that's because farmers were pretty mad about Trump getting rid of their workforce. Now, he also suggested that doing this would give employers and workers alike a real incentive. Really? A farmer will come in with a letter concerning certain people, saying they're great, they're working hard, we're going to slow it down a little bit for them, then we're going to ultimately bring them back as legal workers. Yeah, okay. But here's the thing, though. I'm not against granting legal status to workers. Actually, I think that we shouldn't have to rely on undocumented labor. We should give them documents to make sure that they are not exploited. I know, crazy idea. Actually caring about the people who pick our food. Crazy. Real bleeding heart stuff. All right. But look, here's the thing, though. How's he going to do it? How is Trump going to do this? Of that, we don't really know. Okay. So there's no plan here. Newsweek reports that the administration has not clarified how or when this policy would be enacted, but emphasized that more H-2A and more H-2B visas are expected in the time for the summer season. So, I don't know, man. I'm guessing, like, there's just going to be more concepts of a plan. That's what this is, okay? But it's also amnesty. It's a kind of amnesty, and I can imagine a MAGA supporter just being absolutely furious. Oh, it's Trump amnesty! Except that Trump will probably call it something different, and therefore maybe avoid getting people mad at him by calling it something different, even though it's pretty much amnesty. Okay, that's what this is. But you are adding a cost of kicking people out, deporting them, first rounding them up, and then sending them out just to bring them back in later. Doesn't sound very efficient, but hey, that's what you get with the Trump administration that, yes, a lot of these farmers did vote for. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you become a member on our YouTube page, you become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.